Hi, everyone. Elon Musk is mad at me, and I just put out a statement about what happened between him, me, and the interview that he is apparently so upset about.
Lemon posted that video, by the way, and that statement on X. He called his own questions respectful and wide-ranging, but said Musk clearly felt differently. Musk, for his part, says Lemon's interview style, I'm quoting here, lacked authenticity. Lemon interviewed him last Friday and says it's still going to air on YouTube, and yes, no. Like, what's up with this, especially some of this reporting that there was some tension during the conversation? What does it mean for a questioner to lack authenticity?
Right, I was told by a source who was in the room for the interview that it was like a bad first date, that these two men didn't gel, there was no good vibe, but that's no reason to cancel a multi-million-dollar partnership deal. You know, Elon Musk, now that he owns X, he wants to turn it into a YouTube alternative. He needs big video creators, and that's why he signed Don Lemon back in January. Now, X has been out there in the marketplace selling these shows to advertisers, but apparently after the interview, Musk did not like it. He texted Don Lemon's agent and said, the contract is canceled.
So Musk says Lemon can still put content on X, put stuff on X, but the company's just not going to pay him for that, right? Disagreement on content. Here's what Lemon said.
Speaking of free speech, right, I thought the first person interviewed, no-brainer, Elon Musk, the man who calls himself a free speech absolutist. I asked him to do it. He willingly agreed to the interview. Apparently, free speech absolutism doesn't apply when it comes to questions about him from people like me.
Tells Don Lemon, quote, contract is canceled, end quote. Now, CNN reached out to X for their comment, and their response is, quote, we reserve the right to make decisions about our business partnerships. And after careful consideration, X decided not to enter into a commercial partnership with the show.
Well, I think it's very important for there to be an inclusive arena for free speech.
Free speech is meaningless unless you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like.
I really can't emphasize this enough. We must protect free speech. Matters. It's only relevant when it's someone you don't like saying something you don't like. It's damn annoying when someone you don't like says something you don't like. That is a sign of a healthy, functioning free speech situation.
So Don, you do this 90-minute-long interview with Musk. You sit down with him. This is the culmination. He had actively courted you to come on one of his tweets. Have you considered doing your show on this platform? Maybe worth a try. Audience is much bigger. It had been public. Then you had reached a deal. I'll talk about that later. Then he texts 24 hours after this 90-minute-long interview, which is the first of your show launching. He says, contract is canceled. What happened?
Musk. Quite frankly, what happened? I don't know. As I said in my statement, I felt really good about the interview.
Hate speech on the platform is up. Do you believe that X and you have some responsibility to moderate hate speech on the platform? That you wouldn't have to answer these questions from reporters about the Great Replacement Theory as it relates to Democrats?
I don't have to answer these questions.
The Great Replacement Theory as it relates to Jewish people. Do you think that?
I don't have to answer questions from reporters. The only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So you don't think? Do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
I'm criticized constantly. I could care less.
Illuminating in so many ways. All right, I have two things I want to ask you about. First, the Great Replacement Theory. As you bring it up, you know, he has tweeted in President, House, and Senate, they'll grant citizenship to all illegals and America will become a permanent one-party deep socialist state, right? He has gone there directly, these ideas.
Well, he didn't quite seem to understand that he did, originally he did that with Jewish people. So he doesn't understand that sort of rhetoric that he talks about, the Great Replacement Theory and migrant invasion, that's what radicalized shooters use in their manifestos. And 55 or 500 million users a week. And it doesn't seem that he feels that he has any responsibility with that because he seemed really averse to facts.
Here's another clip. You talked about ketamine in this particular instance.
You talk about your ketamine use and depression. You also have said, and
the reason I should say, the reason I mentioned the ketamine prescription on the X platform was because I thought maybe this is something that could help other people. That's why I mentioned it. You know, obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I would say if someone has depression issues, they should consider talking to their doctor about ketamine instead of SSRIs.
Very civil conversation, but that is where it got very personal.
Well, it got personal, but I didn't put that out there. He has spoken very freely about his use of, those are prescription drugs, but about his use of ketamine.
This conversation, you did talk about Trump. And here's part of the conversation you had with him about Trump.
You recently met with Donald Trump in Florida. What did you guys talk about?
I was at a breakfast at a friend's place, and Donald Trump came by. That's it.
What did you discuss?
I don't. Let's just say he did most of the talking.
Did he ask you for money?
He didn't.
Are you going to loan him money to help pay his legal bills?
I'm not paying his legal bills in any way, shape, or form.
Did he ask you for a donation?
No.
Are you leaning towards anyone?
No.
You're not leaning towards anyone because you've been.
Well, I'm leaning away from Biden.
You're leaning.
The trademark laugh there,
Yeah.
which, by the way, in the context of the contract is canceled 24 hours after that interview, it just shows there was a lot of back and forth and give and take.
Maybe we're learning that a public square should not be privately owned by someone who doesn't think that there should be any moderation on that platform.
24 hours later, then.
And 24 hours later,
The
it
text
means
comes.
freedom of speech does not mean, I guess, the same thing to him as it does to me.
Because not all the influential, powerful men in the world have been getting such easy questions this week.
This morning, a high-profile deal between two unlikely partners imploding after a confrontational interview between former CNN anchor Don Lemon and Elon Musk turned tense during a taping of the new The Don Lemon Show that was supposed to debut next week on Musk's platform X. Hours later, Lemon says he received a short text from Musk that read, "Contract is canceled."
Now, to be fair to Elon, though, you never really expect to hire someone and immediately be asked about the Jewish great replacement theory. Usually want to wait for the Christmas party to do that, but I'm sorry, between Trump and Elon, when did all these macho men become such pussies? You know, aren't you the ones who complain about the snowflakes and liberal victimhood? When Elon bought Twitter, he was like, "This is free speech town square, baby." And then then anytime somebody criticizes him, he's like, "The town square is closed for repairs." This is terrible. Teddy Roosevelt's critics shot him during a speech, and he didn't even go to the hospital. Which shows, one, how tough he is, and two, how terrible healthcare was back then. But look, these alpha males today get one tough question and they start whining like my kid when I tell him he can't watch Cars 2 for the 8th time today. Daddy, it's not fair. Well, you know what else isn't fair, son? It's not fair that I, a grown man, know all the words to Cars 2.